guys, welcome to a random moment. I'm Otaku Kent, and here with me is my guest today, Zero2Chaos.
What's good?
You probably remember him from our recent startup of season 2 of Random Talks. But this is actually something me and Will wanted to talk about. About a month? Yeah,
going into it.
The craziness that has been the Walt Disney Company for the last couple years.
Just wow.
Yeah.
I mean, on my end, I know, like for you, it's been more. You know way more about the park stuff than I do.
Yeah.
And like for me, I'm all into like the with entertainment, the movies, and the TV side.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, like Walt Disney as in a whole, if you don't know, we'll explain it. But like just overview, what they have been doing in these past couple years is like unheard of. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we are alive to see this happen is like, wow.
Yeah. A lot of it can be pertain to the pandemic that we went through as well, but we'll get into that. So let's start with the weirdest part first, which was the change to the park reservation system that they implemented at the end of, not even the end of the pandemic, like in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. I know you've looked up things about the parks in the past, thinking about going. What are your thoughts on the park reservation system as a whole?
Okay. I guess the best way I can say it first, devil's advocate. I'll take it from both ends. Mm-hmm. One, I understood why they did it at that time during the pandemic. It was like, it's not guaranteed that people are scared. They're not going to freely want to come to the park as much, especially with the regulations, the COVID restrictions.
Yeah,
there's a lot. So that's a lot of money. Like, yes, Disney is rich, like they have money, but it's like that's still a good hit with ticket sales, food maybe. So they were like, well, we gotta kind of get it from somewhere, and that's why I saw it first. I was like, okay, well, they're gonna make you pay a little bit more for parking, things like that.
Regulations of guests.
Yeah, and yes, it seems like they're taking it out of your pocket, and which they are, but it was like, we're keeping you safe, and I kind of felt like that's a price you have to pay for it. Don't mean that I agree with it, but that was that side. That side sucks because, sometimes, and this is where I'm like, yes, it was a pandemic, but for some people, that might have been the best time that they could have went.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely, because during that early time with the reservation system just being implemented, I mean, despite the bugs from the website,
right?
Once you got into the park, everything was a walk-on.
Okay.
Everything. Peter Pan's Flight, which normally will run, because of its slow loading time, runs somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour on an average. Mm-hmm. Where that one, you literally just walked in, got on the ride, and went. Mm-hmm. Then you had ones like Pandora, The World of Avatar, and Animal Kingdom, good 60 minutes to 2 hours for both those rides in there, and they were walk-ons. Like, you were able to do everything in a park in a day.
Which is
unheard of.
What? like I remember like last time I went to Disney with my family, like we had to sit there with our extended family, and we're just like, okay, look, vote. One of these parks ain't getting hit.
Yeah.
It's vacation. But like you said, like you literally are able to walk on to everything. And it just hits me. I'm like, man, but it was just so weird how it's like, because that's something that they implemented. Mm-hmm. But I was like, how paying for parking and all this, how does this keep you safe?
Yeah, because at the time, not only, I mean, if you were staying on resort, you were paying for the resort, you were paying for parking, you were paying for your tickets, you were paying they didn't have Park Hopper at the time, you were paying for the food, merch, like you were literally paying every little detail. Fast passes, I don't think were implemented back yet, but there was, like I said, everything was a walk-on. It wasn't needed.
Hey everybody, this is Editor Alex here. I don't usually pop in like this, but I feel like I should comment on this situation because I have worked for Disney 3 different times since 2019. Well, technically 2020, but I worked right before the pandemic hit everybody. I worked at the very tail end of the pandemic, and I have worked post-pandemic. And I went to the park several different times during my employment with the Walt Disney Company. And I will tell you, another huge reason why the lines were not crazy. Yes, one, because there were less people in the park, partially because of the reservation system, partially because people were just afraid to go into the parks. It's a lot busier now. But anyways, another thing was the whole fast pass situation. Not having fast passes has made the park extremely easier to navigate because people, it's kind of like a panic mode. You know people are going on faster than you, and so you panic and you feel obligated to do whatever you can to go faster with them. So back in the day, that was a fast pass system. Like people would only do fast passes for like the busiest lines, which would make the lines busier than they would have if there were no fast passes. But also, after the fact, now that it's Lightning Lane, and now that it is pay to play, basically, people feel like they need to get Lightning Lanes to do the rides they want to do, which is taking money that they are already spending thousands of dollars on this trip, but now they had to spend even more money just to guarantee that they're going to ride the rides that they came all the way to Florida for, whether they are coming from across the country or they're coming from across the world. They feel like they need to pay to play to ride the rides they want to ride. They're basically doing the same strategy that EA does with their video games, where you have to pay EA money just to make sure you have the equipment or even parts of the game just to finish the game or make sure they have an even standing with everybody else. But when there was no Fast Pass or Lightning Lane, it was a lot smoother process because everyone was on equal footing, so there was a lot less stress about doing certain rides because guess what? The rides are still there and there's not a huge line, and so you're allowed to relax more and explore rides you wouldn't normally do. So instead of saying I have to do these 5 rides because these are the 5 rides I do every single time, and I do these rides every single time because I never know when I'm going to be able to come back, and these 5 rides are always extremely busy. So instead of you doing those 5 rides and very little else, so you never actually get to explore the park, you can do a bunch of other things you've never done before, which increases those lines. But since those lines are increasing, the busy lines are decreasing, so they're more averaged out. So I just wanted to bring that in real quick. I just wanted to talk about that because I feel like I have more of a understanding about this because I am here. I'm seeing it live. Also, Defunctland made a really good video about this. I will put that in the description. He doesn't need our traffic. We're nothing compared to him in terms of views, but I just want to put that out there. Back to your regularly scheduled program.
Me too.
Now with everything going the way it is now, with everything technically reopened again,
right.
The park reservation system, in my opinion, isn't even needed anymore. And I completely understand why they would want to keep it on one hand, because I mean, you keep track, you can keep the flow going in a certain restriction. Mm-hmm. You can see how many people are actually going to certain parks, but at the same time, you can do the same thing if you just counted for how many people are staying at the resorts. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you scan your ticket nowadays for Disney, mm-hmm. Depending on what you're using, Magic Band, ticket, the card, whatever, you scan that, and then you scan one of your fingers to metric it to your ticket, so the scalpers.
Right.
But you can easily say, hey, this person's here. Hey, this person's here.
Right.
I mean, fingerprints are literally everywhere. I mean, yeah.
True, but who's going to go through all that trouble?
Well, that's the thing. There's a database they could
I was about
easily
to say-
build.
I was about to say there's the computer.
Yeah.
Okay, that is true.
You can literally say this fingerprint, this has gone to, because they literally have on the ticket, like when you purchase the ticket online, they say you are not basically you are signing away your ability to be on camera at any point during your own property.
Right.
You can literally put it. You are basically signing your way. We can keep track of where you're at in the park by your fingerprint doing this. Now, granted, you can't do the same thing when you're leaving the park. But, I mean, at least you're able to say, okay, this is what the average area of how many people are in this park currently.
Right. And then, I mean, and to be, I guess, sound bad, but they already got your money if you're in the park.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
It's like, hey, but I was going to ask, too. So, like, if you paid to be on the resort, does that give you discounts for the park?
Not so much discounts. There are some deals that you can get certain times of the year.
Okay.
That's where someone who's an expert in Disney travel agent comes in. Mm-hmm. They can help you find those hidden deals that are there, but are usually only exclusive to people who purchase with a Disney person, travel agent.
Okay.
But they all vary because I know quite a few who do it and they don't really know much about the deals, but I know some people who do it and they know about all the inner workings because they've been doing this for years. Mm-hmm. You want to help both out.
Right.
It depends on how deep you want to go in.
Okay.
If you're wanting to do a cruise, one of the smaller ones is much easier to do. They're a little bit more intimate. They don't have to go into much detail about your trip, except maybe a handful of excursions. Right. That's about it. Now, the parks, on the other hand, do you want dining reservations? Do you want Genie Plus, which we'll get into? Do you want are you wanting to do a certain event like a party or something that's happening after hours? There's so many things that account for that a lot of newer travel agents will need a little seasoning and experience to get to that point.
Okay. Because I'll tell you, especially I feel like the main blunt of this is money.
Mm. Oh yes, definitely.
It really sucks.
Especially under Bob Chapek.
Oh yeah, because don't get me wrong, it's a business.
Yeah,
I get it. We have our brand. Mm-hmm. We have brands we want to maintain.
Yep,
we need money. But when it comes to Disney and going to the park, the experience, for some people, that's their only vacation for the year, and that's all. And
sometimes that's their only time to go to Disney World in their lives.
Right. And
the fact that you and I'm pointing to Dan behind the camera. There are giants among us. The fact that you and I have been to the theme park so many times has been a blessing.
I've been there 3 times, and that's after being an adult. And I'm going to tell you this right now. First time we went, we were not on the site. We were on a hotel on another site, which was not fun at all, especially on a rainy day because we had to go back. We wanted to go back to the park, but because it was so rainy, our bodies literally just went, we don't want to do anything. It's rainy. And our whole experience right there was just bad because even some of the employees were acting a little, Second time we went, my sister and brother-in-law had this vacation deal thing.
They're still with the Disney Vacation Club.
Yeah. And
which we'll get into that as well.
Yeah, which was really great because now we went to Key West twice. Second time we went, it was so much easier because they're on site. Wherever park we're going to go to, we just got to wait for the bus. That's it.
Skyliner, bus, heck, some of them you can even walk to.
Yeah. We took the bus because, it was the easiest way from Key West. Key West only had the bus transport, except the Disney Springs where they had a boat.
Yeah.
Which was fun. We took the boat to Disney Springs. Third time we went, Key West again, and this time we actually got to explore the place of Key West because last time we were here we didn't really get to do anything. We didn't really get to go to the pool. Let's just explore this place a little bit.
In my opinion, if you say money's not an issue, if you want to get the full Walt Disney World experience, 5 days minimum. I'm going to explain 6 days sometimes, but 5 days minimum. One for each park, and then a resort day, where you don't have to stay at your resort. You can go to any of the resorts. Jasmine and I had a reservation at Sanaa at the Animal Kingdom Lodge our last trip. We were staying at Art of Animation. We got on the Skyliner, which was I'm scared of heights. I felt safe in this thing.
Does it have air conditioning too?
No, the way they have the vents, the way they have the windows, the air just kind of
Circulates through.
Yeah, circulates.
Oh, nice.
As long as you're not sitting still. When we got over to Epcot, when you go from the Skyliner out to Epcot, you're coming in the back. So you're in France Pavilion in the World Showcase.
Okay.
So what we did was that day, we got in line for Remy, Ratatouille Adventure, the brand new ride. Guardians wasn't even open yet. It broke down when we got close to it, so we went to Frozen in Norway. As we were making our way back, I looked on the app, and it was back up. So we walked back over to France, and we were in line for like 15, 20 minutes. Except for Test Track, because the line, we didn't feel like waiting in line. We rode everything in Epcot.
Hey, and again, that's a win.
Yes.
That's a win. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think
back to what I was saying though about the Sanaa, we went from Epcot, took the bus to Animal Kingdom Lodge, spent some time a little waiting for our reservation. All we wanted to have was the bread service, which is literally an appetizer where they give you like 5 different types of bread and 16 like dips. Fantastic. If you and Ryan ever get a chance, I highly recommend that.
I said we actually I forgot the YouTuber. But we saw them do the Animal Kingdom buffet.
I'm not aware of that one.
And I was like, ooh. And he did the bread sample too.
Okay.
And Ryan was like, ooh. I was like, yes. Like that is something that I would love to do. And like I said before too, like we said earlier, I was like, there's to me it's the big 3 times. Like I've been fortunate enough to go 3 times. Mm-hmm. But I was like, you have to experience it like with your family, with your loved one by yourselves, and then with your family, and your loved one's family. And it's like you get a completely different experience every time. And I think that's what makes Disney so like magical.
Yeah.
I guess it's cliche, but it makes it magical.
Well, I mean, not only that, you're cut off from mostly cut off from the outside world. You get to experience something that's. I'm putting this in perspective here. Most of the time, very clean. I mean, you can't help a few mistakes here.
I mean, hands down. I mean, I don't know how crazy I can get with the stories here, but
as long as you don't drop an F-bomb, we're good.
He good. Man pooped himself, and the poop came out inside of his pants. And me and my dad are sitting there at Magic Kingdom, and literally like hit the floor, and we're like, "Whoa!" And no joke, I think that was literally the dirtiest I've seen ever. Like that was the dirtiest thing
old
ever.
man?
I would say he had maybe like 40s, maybe like late 30s. He was trying though. He was like he literally was trying to like make it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm just like I thought you were just walking and it came out.
Oh no, he was trying to make it. Like,
So basically, he was make my way downtown to the bathroom because I gotta go.
Yeah. And,
Well, that's the thing about Disney World as well. I mean, if you don't know where the bathroom's at,
Oh God!
because a lot of them are very well themed to the point where they camouflage.
Yeah,
You
but
will
here's the funny
pass
thing:
it 4
they're
times
not far apart from each other.
No, they're
They're
not.
almost like around the corner of each other. It's like I can't run the bathroom.
but they're hidden. Trust me, one thing I've learned in my 32 years of life, when it comes to amusement parks, get the map, bathrooms.
Get
Map,
on your phone.
well,
Get on your
map
phone,
or
you can
the
search
My
it.
Disney Experience app.
Yes.
Yeah, because we were trying to find the bathroom, but can't find it. Where is it? I tried asking an employee. No help on that one, unfortunately.
That's another thing we're going to talk about in a minute.
But yeah, I'll tell my story about that in a second. But I was like, forget this. It's over there by Bell's Castle.
Can I make it though? Can I make it?
Can we make it? Let's go.
Dun, 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 dun. Although with your mom being in the scooter, it was more like everyone move out of the way. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is back.
No, those park scooters.
I was gonna say side note too. Just this. I mean, not to sound bad, but if you know someone who needs a wheelchair, bring them. I actually went my second time going to Disney. We had a family friend who was handicapped, and she had to have a wheelchair. Like she could walk around, but it was advised for her to have a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
So not
Especially
saying
that much walking.
Yeah, so not saying that I abused that, but I abused it. I made sure I was one pushing her at every ride. All right, flat, just flat. But it's the little things. It's the little things.
It's the little things.
And
So next thing I want to talk about, Disney Plus. Not Disney Plus. I'm sorry, Genie Plus.
okay,
Are you aware of what that is?
a little bit.
So basically, it replaced FastPass. You have to pay for it.
Yep.
And it is not cheap because not only do you have so you buy Disney Plus, you can make reservations for certain rides. However, you can most of the time you can only make one. Where the Fast Pass, you make 3 Fast Passes. Once your last one is done, you can go on the app, make another, you go. This one you can only make one at a time, and you might not get one until like 2 p.m.
Okay.
So my issue was with not only paying for something that it's basically become to the point where if you don't get it, you're not going to get on a lot of rides.
Right.
Why is it so to the point where even where they have these premium ones like Star Wars, Rise of the Resistance, Guardians of the Galaxy, Galaxy's Edge, where you have to pay an extra fee on top of that to get the Fast Pass for that one? That was my biggest issue. Now I have no quarrel paying one time to get a Fast Pass. Heck, Six Flags has been doing that for years.
Well, most amusement parks
Yeah,
that have that value,
yeah.
they do that.
Disney was one of those places where if you were staying on resort, if you're staying on a resort, you had access to that information quite early. And even before that, you go up to the little ticket kiosk, you scan your key, you get a little ticket that says, come back this time. Then you go. The Fast Pass system was so much more efficient than Genie Plus, especially since it's all digital and you're stuck doing this 90% of the time.
And I'm not going to say it again, but devil's advocate. But on both ends, again, I applaud them for trying to use the current technology to cut back on their work. I mean, that's obvious that one.
It wasn't ready when it was released. Let me put it that way.
100%. And that is what I was gonna say too. Like, you can tell that like maybe they were like, okay, we just need to get this out. Why? Because it's gonna make us money. Just get it out. I hate when we're the guinea pigs to certain things, but that's clearly, it seems like what happened. That they're gonna be the guinea pigs. And again, you spent all this money already. So for a lot of people, and then mentally they're like, well, I already spent hundreds of dollars to get here, so what's another,
X, Y, and Z.
Right. But I don't like when you explain how, like, I remember back to 3, so you go from 3 to 1, and it's more, right? So it's like, the whole purpose, in my mind, to have that you can reserve 3 is if something breaks down, or if you just miss it. We ran time mix up.
Yeah.
We're on the wrong side of the park. We're not gonna make it in time.
Yeah.
Well, we'll check that one. Let's go head to the second one. So now it's like, things happen. So it's like now, if I have my sight set to go to this one thing and I reserved it, and it breaks.
Most of the time, they will. I've never used Genie Plus, and I probably won't until the price drops and the premium stuff relaxes a little bit.
Or gets a little better.
Yeah,
Right.
I refuse to use it in its current state. In the old times of FastPass, if you were in FastPass and it would do that, you would be compensated. Most of the time, you'd be compensated with here's a FastPass for any ride.
Right.
It is very rare that happens unless you are on the ride when it breaks down nowadays.
Right.
So, on that note of money, what I just showed you earlier, so back in 2018, they announced that you had to pay for parking at the Disney World hotels. Depending on the level of hotel, value, moderate, or deluxe would depend on the price. And then you had the deluxe obviously having valet. They just announced, right before we started filming this, that is no longer going to be an issue. Now, valet parking, that's still going to be, cost a little bit.
Right, that's what valet is.
Yeah. But self-parking will no longer cost money.
Which is good, because I'm like, I gotta pay to park.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's-
And that's not saying if for some reason you wanted to go, you're staying at a resort and you don't want to take the bus, you just want to drive your car, you know your way around. Now you have to pay for parking at the parks as well.
Right. And it's that nickel and dime thing, and it's, of course, we say nickel and dime, but it's really like
$1 and $20.
right. And it's just kind of like you're gonna get your money. And I didn't want, when you told me about this, I didn't want to sit here and be like, ah! I was trying to be like, okay, maybe, but it's so hard to sit there, especially with the park, and be like, man, you can make that free. It should have been free.
Yeah.
And
especially when how much that we're paying for the hotels already.
right. And I think too that's just like a social thing. I feel like now, especially we're in a whole new era in the world. So it's Disney and the company possibly now it just sees it. It's no longer like, oh, we can implement this and we won't really hear about it for months later. Now it's like you implement something, if the people don't like it, it's on some social media.
Oh yeah.
There's some article, like literally, like you said, literally before we started, bam, right there. Oh, it's free now. Wow. See, Disney has this edge now because they can do something crazy like that and see instantly if it's working. Are people just like letting it happen?
Which is basically what a lot has been going on lately.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, seeing how the parks are in, so excluding that, the fireworks shows.
Yes.
You've seen Happily Ever After at Magic Kingdom, correct?
Yes.
So when they announced that was leaving and being replaced with the Enchantment, I think it was Enchantment. What were your thoughts? Were you sad?
A little bit, but I kind of assumed that they were just gonna like change it, maybe add something else to it, but maybe bring back Magic Kingdom for like special nights, things like that.
So So this is what's happening. So Magic Kingdom aside, Epcot.
Yeah.
We had not Harmonious. We had Illuminations for like the last 20 years, even longer probably. They announced that's ending. We are moving on to another show, Harmonious, but in between we got Epcot Forever. Okay. Epcot Forever, mixed bag. Some people really liked it, some people hate it. Harmonious, same thing. The only thing people hated about Harmonious was those massive barges and the Stargate in the center.
Okay.
Now, this morning they announced Happily Ever After is coming back in... Well, they announced that was coming back already, back to D23. But they announced that it's coming back in April. Alongside that, Harmonious and the barges are coming down, and we're going back to Epcot Forever for a new show later on. Now, I haven't been able to confirm anything in the last few hours, but from what I read, some were saying that they were just going down for a refurb and they're bringing the barges back, and some were saying they're just being brought down.
Okay.
Do you think removing the barges would actually benefit your trip more? Or do you think that having something with screens and like effects would actually enhance it more? You've seen the barges, correct?
Yeah, I've seen it. So that's a good question. I'm 32 years old, so I'm a product of the 90s. So I guess on one end, my nostalgia is like, oh, okay, yeah, you're getting rid of my childhood. Mm-hmm. But the adult in me is like, but there's newer children. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that wow effect for them, like if we take that down, even if they refurbish it, and they don't bring it, like, and they bring it back, cool. But if they don't, I kind of feel like, don't. If you don't like it, like if it's just not working, then cool. But maybe put it on like a weekly schedule or something, and make it to where
the problem was they were anchored in place; they couldn't have been moved.
Okay, so it would be like ridiculous to like literally be like, okay. But
now here's what personally, this is what I think they should do: get rid of the Stargate, leave the projection barges, the 4.
Okay.
That way, and add some things that can do with water effects. Maybe shoot off a couple, daytime fireworks in between. Put a day show in there. Remove just the big centerpiece and have the 4 screens that would interact with something in the showcase.
Okay.
They were originally going to have something going through the day with the whole thing, but it got canceled. I think they just need to remove the centerpiece and have the screens do something, because special events, Christmas, New Year's, like they're in all different festivals. They could literally do so much with those standard screen barges that don't require the big. I want to keep calling it Stargate because that's what it looked like.
But no, I agree because it's more of it's like we're gonna see. I mean, they're enhancing the park every year, and that's my biggest problem. Is like, I love Disney, but I'm the kind of guy like I want to go either on a special event or a holiday.
Yeah,
because I've seen the regular park. Now, if you tell me if you go and you go, hey man, this new blah is amazing, that's going to entice me to want to go.
yeah.
So if I go back and it's the same thing all the time, I'm going to be like, eh.
Well, that's where Walt his phrase "where the parks will never be finished" comes in.
Right.
Now, I will say this: the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World is coming to an end.
Yes.
And we're starting into the 100th anniversary of the Walt Disney Company as a whole. One of the things I want them to keep so badly from the 50th, I want all the lights around Spaceship Earth, or as Dan calls it, the golf ball.
The Florida golf ball.
I will send you to Jesus.
Hey, don't blame me. That's what a lot of people in Florida call it because that's what it looks like.
It doesn't look anything like a golf ball. It doesn't have circles. It has triangles.
Will, if you saw that, didn't know what it was, what do you say? Kind of resembles a bit of a golf ball. Not to mention, it's
He's
in
not getting in
Florida.
the middle of this.
I have learned
He's
my
thinking
lesson.
this. Mom, Dad, please stop fighting.
I've learned my lesson. Y'all can keep this one. But I will say, I'm kind of leaning more this one. Just a little more this way.
Traitor!
I didn't see a golf ball the first time I looked at it. But I can see it if you like squint and kind of tilt the head a little bit. I think I can see it.
But in between every little of the where they all dip in, they put an LED light in all of it.
Okay.
And so during all the festivals within this last year, they've had little like Festival of the Arts. They played Rainbow Connection, Flower and Garden. They played Pocahontas, Colors of the Wind. During they did a Christmas one. I can't remember what it was, but they're able to do patterns and projections on LEDs on Spaceship Earth itself. They spent all this time and money putting all this detail into Spaceship Earth. I'm afraid they're going to take it down. And it's been enhancing so much because it basically makes a new show.
Right. And I feel like with that, they could repurpose that every event.
Yeah.
So I agree. Like, don't take it down.
Yeah, a friend of mine.
Well, it's more aesthetically pleasing as well when you see it. Because
Oh, yeah.
before, it was just the big old white ball, Spaceship Earth, golf ball, whatever you want to call it. Boom, right there, big and white. It's like, okay, it's great. Look, it's like, something cool to look at. It's a cool ride.
It's the weenie. That's what it's called. It's called a weenie.
Yeah, but when I went there this past year with my family, and it was all lit up. Oh, I just had to get like pictures of every side of it all lit up because it was so beautiful. It's like, oh my, it's almost like I'm eating with my eyes right here because there's so many colors on it. It was like rotating. I was like, oh man, it's
Like,
I think I actually got a photo.
good.
like the first time a child sees Magic Kingdom at night lit up. I feel like that. My thing is, again, if you're gonna realize your boy Chaos here, I like the experience. So if I'm bringing someone who's never been before, and I know that's there, just keep it there because those are those eye moments, man. Or back in the day, those Kodak moments. Kodak.
It'll never. I will always hear it as Kodiak because of the Aladdin and the King of Thieves.
Kodiak. But like I know sometimes things have to go. I remember it's like Splash Mountain, stuff like that.
Splash Mountain. Yeah, it's not going to be taken away,
But
they're taking Song of the South out, which I'm sad, but yeah, I'm like, it's been there for years. It honestly
Yeah.
update.
I'm not gonna lie. I am sad. I grew up. I mean, despite their timed pieces, I grew up with being told bedtime stories of the Tales of Uncle Remus, which became Song of the South.
Right.
They were all folk stories. I mean, they were like stories that had a moral to them at the end of every
Right.
story. The only thing that I ever hear when I hear Song of the South being racist is the Tar Baby.
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing I have a problem with, it's not slurring anything. Tar is black. It is a shape of a baby. It is literally what it is.
Right. Now my thing.
That's just how my mind works.
No, for real, but like my thing, it's more of like I would be lying to all of you if, because I'm a 90s child. So Disney literally raised me. Like let's be honest.
My grandfather.
Here's a new show for you, kid.
My grandfather was 12 when Steamboat Willie came out.
See, and I remember growing up, zippy doo dah, zippy day, my oh my, what a wonderful day. You know what I'm saying? And whistling it, singing it, and fast forward to I'll say like our 20s is when it really started. People started going like, oh, this and that, this and that, and I sat back and analyzed it for what they're saying, and I'm like, okay, cool. My problem is this is still history. So are we just going to say that we need to just get rid of it because of this racial tension? My thing was, no, keep it.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying about...
You learn from the past.
Right.
Yeah. That's why, when you watch, on Disney+, you watch Peter Pan, Dumbo, before the show starts, it literally has this is not an accurate representation of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Even Aladdin.
Yeah, even Aladdin.
Because the thing is, I know I don't want to go off on a tangent what the video's about, but technically we're talking about Disney, so it's still there. Disney, everyone has their past, and we all know that Dumbo. You said Dumbo, like the crows in Dumbo,
And the rest of outs.
right? Like there's going to be those things you're like, oh, how'd that get through? But
it was the times, yeah. Because
Right, yeah.
we growing up, we did not know what that crow was named.
right.
Well, not to say the credit. It's like Jim Crow.
And it's
Yeah,
crazy
but what 4,
because,
5, 6-year-old's going to read the credits?
That is very true.
But then you fast forward, when I was in college, and my professors are able to go back to Disney and go, hey, we're going to analyze these films. Like what was it? Like Song of the South, all that stuff. Like if we get rid of it, we're losing that piece. It's like
Which ironic because you can technically. I do not condone buying bootleg anything. However, buying a bootleg copy of Song of the South on DVD is literally the only way to get it right now.
the only way. And I remember, I saw it when I was a kid. I didn't understand fully what was going on, but
You
I
just
watched
saw
it.
cartoons.
Right. But then, I got older, my psychology courses and things like that, and we kind of broke it down and we pieced together certain things and pulled things out, and I'm like, wow. And I feel like the next generation will have that moment.
Yeah.
If we just keep removing it.
Same thing with like Tom and Jerry, or even the old Looney Tunes cartoons. Like a lot
Aunt
of times you
Jemima.
see someone get blown up, you see the racial stereotype for the black guy. As a kid, you don't know anything about that. You're just like, haha, that looks funny. As an adult, you're like, oh,
Right.
Which now they changed a lot of that. They edited it to less look like that and more look like just he got burnt.
Right.
yeah, like sins.
Yeah. Now this is what I was talking about with the LEDs. There we go.
Oh, yeah, they got to keep that. They got to keep that. Like,
This was the Beacons of Magic show, which was the show that they basically said, "You are the magic," and it shot a beam of light. This was one of the 50th things.
Mickey got a hold on people, bro. Mickey got the powers, man. I'm just saying. Just talking about Disney right now, it's like, man. Because it's like, there's just so much to talk about.
Yeah.
we
We might have to just break this into a part 2 later.
Oh, man. Because especially when you ask me, say, hey, man, Disney, I'm like, oh, what about? Where we going with this?
Yeah.
And
So now let's get into, because we're kind of running out of time, let's break this down into the one thing that you and I both have kept an eye on, the business side of it all.
yes.
Oh.
Sounds like everybody's here. Disney's coming for us. Run!
The transition that happened between... So something just broke. The transition that happened between Chapek and Iger.
Yeah.
Do you know the details that went in between those two moments of them announcing it?
Not 100%.
Okay.
I did see when they, I saw online when they were talking about it, and then they officially was like, yep, this is going through.
The Friday before, they announced because it happened on a Sunday. The Friday before, I'm sorry about the stomping. The Friday before they announced that they were switching, they said people at Disney reached out to Iger saying, "Would you like to come back?"
Right.
He said yes. 2 days later, here's your check. Goodbye to Mr. Chapek. Now, a lot of people were very happy about that, me included. But there are a lot of things to consider that a lot of people don't with this transition. With this, we did have the issue of Genie Plus was already in the works when Iger was still in charge.
Right.
A lot of things that were going on were still happening that we see today that we don't like. However, Chapek took it a step further and took it down the wrong direction.
Right.
Where he ended up with the nicknames of Bob Cheapek, Bob Paycheck, a lot of other names that a lot of people, I'm sure, will mention about in the comments.
So fondly.
Yeah, so fondly.
And
from your side of being intellectual about business as a whole, seeing what happened with Disney within these last couple of years when he's been in charge, do you think they made a good decision as a business?
well, so not to sound so blunt about it, but of course, yes. Because, I mean, if we look at it just from what they've been able to acquire under the reign, it's like these moves, like these crazy ideals and moves that he put into place and that got put into motion is literally what got them, I personally feel, is what got them like Marvel, Fox, on the digital side.
Well, I believe that was still under Iger.
Was it under Iger still?
Yes, I believe that was still under Iger.
Okay, so refresh that for me. So when they already have this, so him to maintain this, and a lot of people don't realize that when a brand buys a brand, you also buy their problems. You buy their negatives as well.
Yep.
Their sins.
So right. So it's like, yes, you're gaining all of this property, you're gaining all of this liquid, I guess I would say equity,
Yeah.
and liquid in there, but he is your Disney though, if that makes sense. It's like if anyone has to get the finger pointed at them and be hated, it's like, let it be me. Love the park, love Disney, love the brand, hate me. And that's how I always seen it. Was like, man, you're doing the hard stuff, so we can still kind of sit back and enjoy what we have.
Yeah.
Now morally, I couldn't see myself doing it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my brand's not a multi-bazillion dollar company.
Yeah.
He has to make necessary evil.
Right. And we talked about it before, even when with just Disney in general, just acquiring companies.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
grabbing them like he's Pac-Man eating the pebbles.
right. And remember, a long time ago, we were talking one time. I remember we were out filming. And remember, I was like, man, it's crazy, but watch them just like try to integrate Hulu into Disney Plus. And everybody's like, no, but Disney Plus is coming out. Disney Plus. I'm like, yeah, but literally everything on Hulu, like they have a hand in. Like,
Yeah,
this is,
they own the majority of Hulu.
yeah. So, and
Well, with the way that the money's been flowing around now, we might see not only them drop Hulu from their hold, but ABC as well. There's been talks of selling ABC, which has been a part of the Disney company for decades.
well,
Since we were kids, right?
Which is
Yeah.
funny because with ABC, which a lot of people, ratings is weird, because we live in a streaming era now.
Yeah.
So everything now is, it's not going, oh, let me put something on at 7 o'clock and see what the ratings are. Now it's, I'm going to post something on Hulu, post on Disney Plus. How many views are we getting?
Yeah.
How many streams are we getting?
Yeah.
So it's like,
How many people are clicking play?
right. ABC, and this is what happened with a lot of networks, but ABC being like the bigger one that it's happening to. It's hard for a network company to sustain in a streaming platform. So if you look at Netflix, right? From Netflix was the tycoon that was like, we're the first streaming service, we're doing it.
I remember when they rented out DVDs.
I remember
Right. You know what I'm
I remember
saying?
those commercials for him.
Right. So then they even said, okay, well, if we're going to introduce the world to this new concept, what are we going to do? Because, we're just the entity. We're just showing it to you. We don't make the content.
Yeah.
So what happened? We got
The
Netflix
original
originals.
condos, yeah.
So now the other way, ABC and everybody's like, well, we're under the umbrella of Disney. We're fine. Disney's network is amazing. Like we're fine. Hi guys, we're in the streaming world now. So we're making Hulu originals. We're making Disney Plus shows. Don't worry, you know your brands are still okay. But now it's just the harsh reality of what are we putting on network cable? Like
it's what's happening to radio. What happened to radio?
The same thing will happen to radio. How what was it? Video killed the radio. You know that song? Video killed the radio. Yeah. Like it's the same thing, and it's awkward.
Yeah.
To sit there and go, man. Like
so, one thing to note about the transition as well, the morale of the cast members, not just what we see in the parks, the Imagineers, the people who work for the studios, all of them. There has been a morale low. When Jasmine and I went and last year in May, before we got into Disney Cruise, as far as we can tell, everyone's happy. Mm-hmm. But that's usually because their cast members are under contract.
Yes, they're contract workers.
Yes.
So
the cast members that are part-time, full-time, that are working the parks, they are miserable.
I believe it.
Editor Alex, our wonderful friend who's probably watching this as well, will probably put something, I'm going to say probably here, explaining his how he feels about the current state of the parks, because he works there. Right. He's at the time of filming, he's probably working in Hollywood studios right now.
So yeah, I'm back. So there's a lot I would like to say, but I just can't because of reasons. But I will say that I will confirm, like, it is very hard to work in the parks right now. I still enjoy it. I still enjoy my area. I like working for Disney, but there is a very big systemic issue with Disney, and it's been getting harder since the pandemic, and even past that, just dealing with a lot of the people can be crazy. Because a lot of people, let me put it like this, Disneyland does not have the same issues as Disney World. Because Disneyland deals with locals. They deal with people who want to go to Disneyland multiple times throughout their lives, throughout the year. While Disney World is a place where people want to dump all their money to do one trip once a year, once every 2 years, once every 3 years, once in their entire lifetime. And because of that, they get a certain level of entitlement. And so they act very much like they own the place. And a lot of times they do not treat people well, or they act in ways that makes our job harder. Now, there's a bunch of sweet people there as well. I have met very sweet people at the park. There are people who go there on a regular basis who give out candy to the cast members or just smile and thank them and just being nice people. I'm not saying it's bad all the time. But those are people who are, again, locals. They come here regularly, while majority of the people who go to the parks are people who have either never been to the parks or go them so rarely that they never know. They never get a sort of, oh, I might get recognized here. I better act properly. A lot of them get just like, oh, no one knows who I am. It does not matter how I act, sort of mindset. There's a lot, again, I would like to say, but I can't right now.
Hopefully not cleaning up someone's poop.
Oh, hey, if you do, tell a story. It's always good. Good poop stories always good.
Well, my experience with that from my last trip, just a few months ago, was, what was it, in August?
September.
Yeah, September. You know, same thing, the bathroom. You know, we're trying to find a bathroom, and we just got off the Little Mermaid ride. The little sit down in the clamshell, and it turns around. Oh, we're out. But now, you know, we gotta go to the bathroom. So I'm looking around to see if I can find someone. And I find an employee, he's leaving the little backstage area part. He has a lunchbox in hand. I'm just like, okay, maybe I can ask him.
Mistake number one, he left backstage.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, he might be off, but maybe he can point us to where our bathroom is at least. Because, common courtesy is all that. And I said, excuse me, sir, do you know where the bathroom's at? And he looks at me and goes, as of right now, I am off the clock. Thanks for nothing then, buddy.
Yeah, they're supposed to leave out another direction. Because when you're on stage and you're in uniform, you're in character.
You're in character. And
I can guarantee you that cast member's probably not there anymore.
I think possibly 100%. But I would say definitely with that situation. And especially with, I would say look at it from a whole of what's been happening in the world with the pandemic. People literally either losing their jobs because of what they believe or businesses being tested. And you have a tycoon like Disney, a company that's like, from what I've been reading and what I've heard, not much has changed for them.
Yeah, no, they have the same level of workers that they had during the pandemic,
right?
To the point where the cast members are exhausted. We went to Tom Sawyer Island, that little island in the middle of the river in the Rivers of America in Magic Kingdom. That poor woman who drove that boat was so miserable because, one, it was May. It was hot.
Right.
Two, they don't have a lot of people to circulate to give those people that break. Whether it be, because we saw one guy saw just previously, he was suddenly working the entrance to the Country Bear Jamboree. So, I mean, they don't have the people to circulate to keep going because, I mean, you see issues. I've been seeing issues lately where molds being found on the vehicles, the ceiling of Space Mountains just looking filthy, which they just recently cleaned. That's not custodial. That's overnight.
Right. And like you said before, it's the when it's all hands on deck. But let's say I can easily possibly tell you they're maybe short like 25% of just having employees.
Oh yeah,
and
they're probably working at somewhere between 35 and 50 right now.
Right, like easily 35 or 50%. And any company, even though how big you are, like there's going to be those hiccups where these employees are like, yo, we were promised these days off, but we can't give it to you because we don't have enough people.
Yeah.
And one thing that we've been seeing with this era of employees and this era of people, they want compensation.
Yeah, they don't want to work for nothing, and they don't want to be treated like poop.
Right. And remember, back in the day, especially I would say during like the turn of the millennia, it was cool to work at Disney. So, I had a neighbor that I grew up with at my family's home. They moved to Florida, and because her husband wanted to work for Disney, and they changed everything. They got up, moved to work at Disney.
Yeah.
That's not happening no more. And that's something that I think maybe not like right now, but maybe like in the next like 5 years, we're going to see a change of either they go to contract workers because you can pay them a little bit more and not guarantee them some things.
Well, I mean, that's the issue they have with, because they have to go through performers guilds.
Yeah.
For the characters and performers for the shows, and they were not like, there was an issue there, especially with the vaccine situation right there between the contract and Disney just not meshing well, and it took them forever to bring back a lot of their characters and a lot of the shows. But yeah, so we're going to have to move this to a part 2 where we're going to talk about the filming side.
Yes.
That'll probably be out in a few weeks. We'll figure something out.
Of course.
But yeah, it was good to see you. It's good to talk to you about this sort of thing, especially with so much happening in the last few years within the Walt Disney Company. Something that you and I both love. But yeah, we'll pick this up another time. But until next time, I'm Otaku Kent.
I'm View Dan.
I'm Zero2Chaos.
Thank you once again. We love you guys. Don't forget to love each other. And don't forget to check out Zero2Chaos at Final Stage Promotions on YouTube, at FSPN on Twitch. Did I miss anything?
Those are the two big ones.
Okay.
If you want, Zero2Chaos on YouTube as well and on Twitter. That's about it.
All right. We love you guys. Hope you love each other. And don't forget, stay random. Peace out.
Peace.